everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am back with another video, and this time we'll be doing a feel step by step. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm going in with a pair of nippers to remove her bling. Alrighty, so after we remove the pearls, I'm going to go in with a safety coarse drill bit. And yes, it is a safety, and you want to make sure that you're using a safety one if you're using a coarse grit, only because it's so coarse that you will damage somebody's natural nail if it hits their nail. So again, we're just following all around the nail to make sure that we get all of the gel polish. Now, if you just had regular polish on your client's nail, then of course you would just remove it with nail polish remover and cotton balls. But if you do have gel polish on acrylics, you will have to file it off. Alrighty, so for this nail, I'm going to be filing a little bit more just because I'm trying to get rid of the little glitter or sequins out of the nail since they were encapsulated. So for this, you want to make sure that you keep your drill bit moving. You don't want to keep it in a spot too long, because it will cause friction and it will cause your client's nail to burn. So again, make sure that you do file a little bit more to get all of that out, but at the same time make sure that you keep your drill moving at all times. Same thing for this thumb. We are going to be filing it down a little bit more just because we have to get all that encapsulated glitter out of the nail. So whenever we go to apply acrylic on it, we are also going to have to apply a little bit more just because we're thinning out the nail a lot to get all that glitter out. And again, I do recommend that for removing gel polish from acrylic nails, you use a coarse drill bit, because if not, if you use a fine or a medium, you're going to be filing for a long time. So be sure that you get a coarse drill bit to remove gel polish from acrylic nails. Alrighty, so now we're gonna go in with a cuticle pusher and just push those cuticles back. You can use whatever cuticle pusher you like, whether it's metal, plastic, whatever, it doesn't matter. You just have to push back those cuticles. We're gonna do that on both hands, and you want to be really gentle. A lot of the time people's cuticles are really sensitive, so you want to make sure that you're not hurting them. And after this, we're gonna go in with our sanding band to remove the shine from the natural nail. As always, I replace all my sanding bands after each each client. These are not reusable. You do have to change them out. So for this, we're just removing that shine from the natural nail. Again, this is a fine drill bit. You don't want to use anything over 180 because you're going to damage your client's nail. We're literally just following that natural nail to get that shiny layer off. If you were to just do a feel over the shiny layer, your nails will lift. So this is a really important step. Again, make sure that you're just removing that shiny layer. We're not filing to thin out the nail. We're literally just filing to remove the shine from the natural nail. And I could not say that enough. But again, we're not filing to thin the nail out. We're just filing to remove that shiny layer. And again, this is really, really important. If you're still having lifting, most likely you're not doing this correctly. So we're just going to go ahead and finish that off. Afterwards, we're going to dust them off and check to see if there's any other shiny spots. And if there is, we're going to go back and just file again on those nails. But if not, we're going to go in with a primer. And again, we just apply this on the natural nail. You want to make sure you don't get it on the skin, because if they have any little cuts, it will burn. So just apply it on their natural nail. And this primer is my OPI Bondex. So for my acrylic, I'm going to be using my Mia Secret acrylic system in the color pink, and it's like a translucent pink. I'm using my alpha brush in a number 9. So I grabbed my first bead, place it right closer to the cuticle area, and just gently brush it down towards the tip. As you can see, I pat it into place and then just gently brush it down towards the tip. And as always, if you need to go add some more, that's fine. But if not, just do your one bead and then keep moving to the other nail. But as you remember, I said that on some of the nails, the ones that had the glitter sequence, we are going to have to apply a little bit more acrylic just because we had to file them down a lot. But always remember to look at your nail from different angles. If you have a little bump or lump, be sure to just go fill in that instead of having to add everywhere, because you want to work smarter and not harder. You don't want to have to do a lot of filing at the end. So again, we grab our bead, place it closer to the cuticle area, pat it into place. And as you can see, I'm being really gentle. I'm not just patting down super hard. And even when I pull it down towards the tip, I'm also just basically feathering that acrylic down. I'm not brushing super hard. And then be sure to clean your brush off a lot while you're working, because that acrylic will get stuck on your brush and it will make it impossible for you to have a flawless and smooth application. And as always, make sure that you go back around that cuticle area to get any of that acrylic that's on the skin off, because if not, that will cause lifting again, or also it's going to cause lifting as well. And then as you can see, I'm going back and adding another ball or another bead closer to the tip, just to make sure that our tips are nice and strong, since they are stiletto nails and they could break really easily. So as always, make sure you have a nice stress area, which is right in the middle of the nail. And that is what's going to cause or help our nails not break if your nail was about to break. If you don't have a good stress area, your nail will break off easily. So you want to make sure that you have that arch. And this is actually one of the nails that we had to follow that glitter off. So again, we are going to have to apply a little bit more. And also, I do have a video on powder to liquid ratio, so I will leave that in the description if you need a little bit more help with that. So again, we grab our bead, place it closer to that cuticle area, pat it down into place, and just brush it down towards the tip. Remember, it's always going to be the same steps over and over and over again. It's just a matter of practicing to get a flawless application. And then I also want to remind you guys that if you're not working with a good brush, you would have a really hard time to get a good smooth application because your brush has a lot to do with the way the acrylic goes on. And again, I'm using my Mia Secret acrylic system, my alpha brush in a number 9, and it is an oval shape. And I do have a promo code for the brush, so I'll be sure to leave it down in the description. And again, same process over and over again. It's just a matter of practicing, and I can't say that enough, but trust me, it's just going to take you doing it over and over and over and over again a million times before you get a good flawless application. Or you might just be a natural and you could probably do it in a couple of tries, but for me it took me a while. So if you are one of those people that is taking a little bit longer, to get that flawless application, do not get discouraged. Again, it will take some time, but it just takes practice, patience, and dedication. And then I also want to remind you guys that some nails are going to need a little bit more acrylic than others. So you're not always going to stick to the same method. It's not always going to be a 1-bar method or 2-bar method, 3-bar method, because some nails might be a little bit thinner, just like we had on this set. So you're going to have to apply a little bit more. So it's always going to be different for each nail. As you can see, some nails I'm able to do with just 1 bead, others with 2, others with 4. So again, it's going to be different for each nail. Just make sure that you look at it from different angles to make sure that you have that nice stress area, and that's really the most important thing, making sure that you have a nice stress area, because if not, those nails will break off really easily. Alrighty, so once we finish applying the acrylic, we're going to go in with a 100 nail file, and we are just going to reshape those nails. As always, after wearing a set for a while, it kind of takes away from that shape, and she actually had this set on for like a month, so as you can see, they were a little bit more rounded instead of pointier, so that's why we have to go back and redefine that shape. Again, this is a 100 nail file, and we are just reshaping the nails. Alrighty, so once we finish reshaping the nails, I'm going to go in with a fine drill bit. As always, I start around the cuticle area. I go from the right side to the left side, and you want to do this in a horseshoe shape type of way, if that makes sense. You know how it's kind of like an upside down U. That's kind of how you want to do it. So again, start from that right side and go around to the left side, and just keep going back and forth until you're able to see where the cuticle is, where the natural nail is, and where the acrylic is. That way you know that the acrylic is not on the skin, which means you're not going to get any lifting. And then as always, just follow the rest of the nail to make sure that it's nice and smooth. But it's really important to follow around that cuticle area first to make sure that it's nice and sealed, because if not, water will get under the nail, which will cause you to get those ugly green spots. So you want to make sure that you seal that cuticle area really good. And if you're still having lifting and you're prepping the nails correctly, you're sizing the nails correctly, you're doing everything right, but you're still getting lifting, then I can tell you right now that most likely you are not filing around that cuticle area really good. I promise that it takes some practice to be able to do this, because it took me forever. It was literally to the point where I gave up one time, because it was just like, the nails keep lifting. I'm doing everything that I can to prevent lifting, but they're still coming up. So finally I realized that I wasn't sealing really good, which was causing the nails to lift. So again, make sure that you do this step really good until you're able to see where the cuticle is, where the natural nail is, and where the acrylic is. Again, this is a fine drill bit. So we're going to do the same thing on all the nails. As you can see, again, I start around that cuticle area. With the tip of the drill bit, I follow that. And then with the belly of my drill bit, I follow the rest of the nail to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And you also want to look at your nail from different angles when you're doing this to make sure that you don't miss a little bump or anything. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other hand. Again, step number 1 is filing around that cuticle area. Number 2 is to file the rest of the nail. Now if we were doing a cupping nail, I would file right underneath the free edge to make sure that if any acrylic got stuck underneath the nail, I get that off, and then I would file around the cuticle area and then the rest of the nail. But since they are stiletto nails, we're just filing around the cuticle area and the rest of the nail to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Alrighty, so now we're going to go in with a buffer to buff any of the scratches left from our e-file or our hand file. You want to make sure that those nails are nice and smooth. You want to make sure that you do not skip this step, because if you do, then you will be able to see all of those scratches through your polish. And then also be sure to check each nail after you buff them. Just run your thumb over the top of that nail to make sure that it's nice and smooth. If it still feels a little bit bumpy, you can go back and just buff away any of those scratches. If not, if it's like a really big bump, then you will have to go back either with your e-file or your hand file. But you want to make sure that those nails are nice and smooth. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to go in with a alcohol wipe to remove all that dust off the nail. And then after this, you would just apply your polish, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at GetNail32, and I'll see you guys next time.